Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Kraeher, Leigh Stima, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm here with Gretta and Yvonne, and as always, the Realm of Beings. And we're very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. You might hear the term Realm of Beings and ask yourself who they are or how do they operate in our lives. Does everyone have access to them? We cover in great length all the answers to those questions you might have. If you're new to listening to Shifting Impressions, you can find out all that information by going back to our introductory episodes. These conversations will help you examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you're creating in your life and how it shows up. Today, we will be working with the quotation, well, this is the third of a trilogy, I suppose, about death that we've been discussing for the prior two podcasts. So today we are going to try and wrap it up as best as we can, discussing the quotation, "Death is the process of continuous transitioning closer and closer to the force until we recognize that we are the force itself and have always been the force." Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Leigh. Good morning. Yes, an interesting topic, continuation.
Yes. Go ahead.
I would just like to say, because sometimes the people don't necessarily will look at this, in the order in which we've done it. So I want to reiterate that death is not real, that there is no such thing as death, that we've only, as human beings, we've created the concept of death in order to understand what happens when the body stops moving, stops breathing, the heart stops beating. There was something that we had to say something about it. So people created the concept of death. However, whatever cultural framework they see it in, but there's an absence. So it makes us think that the person is really gone and we have no contact with that person, and that is not the case.
Gretta, I feel like these days I've been learning a lot about this illusion reality, and so many of the things that we were led to believe or told were true are just false, are just things made up to keep it clean. And I feel like this whole idea of death is just another concept that was maybe, where religions have indoctrinated us into thinking that we are small and that we end when that's not exactly how this works. So I was listening this afternoon to a doctor that really has made some remarkable strides in his own raising of consciousness and his own inner healing and inner work. And he was explaining how one evening on a very rare occasion, they resuscitated 3 very different people, like different genders, different colors, different walks of life. And he also explained how what we see on TV about all of this, the people running in and doing all these shockings and all of that, only 6% of the people that they try to resuscitate actually make it through. So I guess this was an unbelievable night. But he said that these three people from completely different walks of life, the first question they asked was, "Why did you bring me back?" Which we understand that they created to come back, but in their framework, you know, because they all said that was the first time they ever felt full acceptance, fully accepted. And that's kind of amazing.
But I think that's a great story, Leigh, and thanks for sharing it with us. But I think there's one thing that you mentioned that I think is so paramount, and that is that they created to leave, they created to come back. But they didn't understand that because they're thinking that the other person is responsible for them coming back, which meant that they did not understand that they create their own reality.
Right.
So they just wanted to visit. You know, it's like going over to grandma's house. You stay for a day and then you come back. You know, it's almost like being in a coma. You know, you go in a coma. Some people determine, I think there was one person that stayed in a coma for a year or something like that. And the parents never agreed to pulling the plug. And then the young woman came back to life, you know, and started interacting with the family. They were so glad that they didn't pull it, you know. Some people go into induced comas. You know, that's a break. You're taking a break. That's what a coma is for me, is taking a break. So it's like deciding that I want to see, consciously want to see what the other side is like, consciously.
And that's through a coma, you're saying?
No, well, through any absence of it. You know, although you can go there if you know how, you can go there and come back. You know, I've done that on quite a few occasions because I've had to carry people or escort people. I told them I would do that. I will escort you into what we call the transitional portal. Now, everybody has different names for that. Going into the light, going to heaven, you know, nirvana, all different cultural groups have different names for it. But the bottom line is, for us, is the transitional portal. You're making a transition. And what is a portal? A portal is just another reality, another spatial reality. That's what that is.
So would that transition be like almost like shedding your physical body? Is that the transition?
Yes, you're shedding that, but you're not just shedding your physical body, you have to shed your etheric body. Now, those people were able to come back because they never shedded their etheric body. See, once the etheric body is completely disintegrated or changed its energy, then it's over. There's no returning back to this reality. You're moving to the next reality that you will be creating for yourself. See, the other thing is that we never stop creating. We never do. We're just moving into a different reality, that's all. Does that kind of help, Yvonne? Or yeah. So that's all it is. It's movement into another reality. And then when you get there, you review. A lot of people have written it in books. You do review, you know, your life that is still, well, let me not confuse people, that you experienced. You decide what lessons you haven't completed yet, and you move into you're escorted into the transitional portal, and you create. Now, this is important. You create what you want your transitional portal to be like. Yeah. So if you think that you're a person that's going to hell, then you can actually create in your conception hell for yourself and stay there for a while and work your way out of that. See, it depends. You can create, like some people have made their transition or they've come back and they said that they saw people dressed in white and everything was peaceful and it was a white environment, literally white environment. And that, they wanted to stay there. But that's because they created it to look like that. It doesn't have to look like that. That's why I'm always saying now, more and more frequently, I find myself saying that we're in a transitional portal right now. We just don't know it. Because after you get into it, you don't realize that you're in it. You don't. You create it. And I think I told the story of my friend who her husband died. And she's listening, I'm sure. I think I might have said it last week. And when I went, she said, "Can you go see how my husband's doing?" I said, "Sure." I wound up in their house. I think I told that story.
Yes.
Wound up in the house, I'll repeat it for those people that are just coming on. But, and I told her, I said, "I see your husband." He was thinner. I said, "I see your old kitchen," because she's remodeled it. And I said, "And I see you there as well." And I said, "Oh, there's a little dog." She says, "What, does the dog have straight pointed, are the ears sticking straight up or are they pointing down?" I said, "They're sticking straight up." And she said, "That's my dog that we had in the 1980s. So the creation of reality that he decided to experience over, he was in his house, he was married to her, they had a dog. That was his transitional portal, and he's starting right there. When you're there, you're going to have blinders on again. See, you're going to have blinders on again, so you're not going to be able to say, you'll already feel that you were a child. You'll already feel that you were born, because that's the logic of it. So while he created that, he's created everything else too, so he can understand continuation and separation. So he's there. And see, and that's why I say, don't cry. There's no need to really cry for the absence of the person, because more than likely you're there with them anyway. Because like, I not only saw him, I saw her. So she was in the transitional portal with him while she was with me. You see, so because we create everything, like here on the Zoom, everything that you see behind us, each one of us has created that space. It's not that the space just happens. And it's not that you picked it up and put it there, like my plant behind me. Before I could even put it there, I had to create it to begin with. But that's another interesting topic. But that's why I say death is not real. There's no need to cry and weep and wail. There just isn't. Because death is not real.
We have redos. You can do something over if you don't like it.
Yeah, constantly. That's why, I say to people, some people have come to me before they've committed suicide, and they tell me they're going to commit suicide. And I tell them, I said, you know what? That is a waste of time, really. But if you want to do it, I'll support you. But let me let you know that when you do, and you get to your transitional portal, whatever lessons that you were running from here, you're going to meet it there. Because that's the place where you continue your lessons, and you continue and continue and continue. until you understand that you are the force and that you've always been the force. Then that ends. Somebody asked me, what happens then? I said, what happens then is that you've gone through the process with the realm of beings called enjoyment. Enjoyment. So that means that I'm recognizing that I am an energy essence, but I am the force. I'm not a part of the force. I'm not a section of the force. I am the force. Yeah.
So once you enjoin, can you just decide to be human again?
You can do
Hello?
anything you want because you're the force. The force created all of existence. So it's created all of these species, regardless if they're cognitive or non-cognitive species. As far as cognitive, having a brain, you know, but everybody had, the unconscious is also the force. And everybody has an unconscious. What people don't understand is they think they have individual, that their unconsciousness is an individual thing, and it is not. There's only one. There's only one unconscious, and we're all sharing it regardless of what type of species we are.
And on that note, we are reaching our first break. So if we're going to take a short pause and stay tuned, we'll be right back. Join us again on Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings.
Welcome back, listeners, and welcome back, Gretta, Leigh. I'm Yvonne. We're here on Transformation Talk Radio on our podcast, Conversations, Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. In this podcast, we are picking apart, or it's the third in our trilogy, discussing the topic of death and how it's an illusion. And the third quote that we're working on today is, death is the process of continuous transitioning closer and closer to the force until we recognize that we are the force itself and we have always been the force. So ladies, this is a idea, a concept, speaking for myself and probably many of our listeners, many of people I know, that we all have been brought up to believe that to fear death, it's the final stop. You know, our whole life is a process until we finally get to death. And then that's it. Nobody knows what happens. So here we are today, shifting a pretty much ingrained concept and belief system, which isn't always an easy thing to do, but that's what we do here. We present different ways of looking at things so that people can come to a deeper understanding. And anyway, we're talking about transitioning, the portal, the transition portal, the creation of reality, and how it goes hand in hand with transitioning. And we haven't quite touched on lessons, or we've talked about how nothing is real, everything's an illusion. These are common themes in all of our podcasts, but I think death is particularly potent idea, and I know personally I've experienced it close to home. One of my youngest relatives passed, transitioned, I should say, this last week after being in a coma, self-induced coma, for about 2 weeks. And it was like a peaceful transition and unexpected, because her family, her immediate family, was talking about her moving on and recovering from this injury. But hey, that was her choice. She was in the middle of her lessons, and still is. So Anyway, ladies, give you a chance to jump in here. So here we go, talking more about death.
When you were talking, Yvonne, it was, I mean, you were saying, you know, we've been taught to believe that it's a final stop, right? And it just made me think, like, I don't know, maybe, you know, first, maybe we should start a movement to cancel the word death and replace it with the word transition or something. But I mean, you know, it's always viewed as like this end point instead of maybe like, why can't it's a transition, or why can't it be a rebirth into something else? Just like it's all a journey where we create to come to this place in whatever form or fashion we so desire, and then we're, you know, picking up, you know, creating things along the way. Some are wanted, some are unwanted, and then like, woohoo, like after all that, I guess from, you know, most of the things I've heard, you know, granted, I don't know exactly their you know, their full story, but I mean, the news and the mass media always tell us about the terrible things, but on this afterlife experience and all of that, it always sounds really amazing. Everybody's full of love and joy and peace and happiness and white lights. You know, you don't get the fire and brimstone ones. And if that was happening to people, that was all we'd be getting were the fire and brimstone ones. So, you know, it's just another, it's like just walking down the road. That's what I was seeing when you were saying like the final stop. No, you just like, you know, keep walking along. Maybe you decide to focus more of your energy into some other species after this one, or change things around a little bit. But
I want to say to that is that you're going to stay Leigh and I'm going to stay Gretta until I get to the enjoyment.
oh, really?
Hey, yes, you don't, it's not that you're going to go into the transitional portal and then you're going to change to be somebody else. No.
Oh, I thought we had all these choices. We are the Force. Why not?
Hey, you made your choice when you decided that you wanted to be humanoid back at the incarnate stage. So you must fulfill that, because then you have to fulfill the lessons that you were committed to learn. So it's like when we've talked about the grid, and you know, and I raised my hands and I say, okay, here is this laterality that we're in. Everything is contained in that laterality that exists. Okay, let's put the laterality over here just for the sake of understanding. So I'm moving my hands for those people who don't know, and I'm going to move it to the right. Here's another laterality. I'm going to move it to the right again. I have space between my hands. So that's another laterality. If I'm in this laterality, I'm going to stay in this laterality and move. My transitional portals are inside this laterality until I reach and say, holy moly, I'm the Force and I've been the Force all along. Then what happens to me, I can choose to do whatever I want after that. Because see, that's getting into also the concept of oneness. See, we're all one and we're never not one. I'm going to use that English. You know, they tell you don't put two negatives because they make a positive, but I enjoy saying that. You're never not one. We just think we're not one. So we stay in this transitional portal. Now, the way I used to teach transitional portals to people, my hands are here and then I move forward. I said, then you go to the next transitional portal. Then you go to the next transitional portal. So you see the direction my hands are going forward. I'm going here and here. It's like going through the ascension process. Everybody thinks you go up. Everybody thinks heaven is up and hell is down. You know, those are just illusions. Okay, so the illusion is to go forward, but it's easier to understand. I'm here. I went through transition. Now I'm here. I'm going to live for so long and I'm going to go through transition. Now I'm here and I'm going to live so long and I'm going through transition. Now, how many transitions you go through that's dependent on you. Some people may go through just 5 transitional portals and they understand that they're the force. You see, other people, it may take 250 transitions before they understand that. But that's the choice. But you don't move from transition to transitional portal. You stay there until you have completed and understand that you are the force. Now, the direction is not forward, forward, forward. And for those of you who can't see, I'm moving my hands forward. It's not that way. What it is inward, inward, inward. You're going inside your beingness. Every time you're in a transitional portal, you're going inner being, not outer being, inner being. If you have to deal with directions, it's an inward thing, not an outward thing.
So when you were talking, the question came to my mind, and I guess this is where I get a little hiccup. So they tell us, so you're saying that we stay, Greta, Yvonne, and Leigh, until we realize we're the force. And part of me says, Yahoo, maybe we have a leg up, the 3 of us, because we're having this conversation. We are like having these kind of thoughts where other people may not be having these kind of thoughts at all. So one step more inward, right? But then if you're saying that we stay in some semblance of this, until we realize we're the force, they say that the population of this earth has been increasing. And at this point, we have 7 million people on the planet. If that is true or not true, I don't know. And if we're all energy and we are the force, and so the force has put 7 billion of itself here, like, what is it trying to do at this time?
The term that I've been given is experiential evolution.
Right,
experiential evolution, that is the purpose.
Like 7 billion little tendrils of one thing is a lot.
That's because it seems like a lot because of this, the blinders we have over the sides. Because
right.
When you put the blinder on, you don't realize that there are other beings around you because you don't see them.
Right, there's other light frequencies we don't see, other sound frequencies we don't
see. Other
see.
Individuals too, that you don't see, that are around you, and you don't see them. So there's a whole lot going on simultaneously. That's why the force is so wonderful. So wonderful, because you're thinking of the 7 million or billion, whatever the number is, of humanoid individuals on this earth. Okay, so let's hang on to the humanoid individuals and look at all the other individuals. Look at the trillions of cells that you have that make up your physical body. Each cell is an individual. Each cell in your body is the force. Each cell was an energy essence and decided it wanted to be a cell in a humanoid body. What particular cell? I want to be a lung cell. I want to be a blood cell. You see? So, can you imagine that? And then take the trillions of cells that are in us and put the 7 billion people that are on this earth, multiply that times the trillions of cells. Look at all of that. Then look at look at all the trees, look at all the grass, look at all the insects.
Right, then you're so microscopic. Then it's like, it's that as above, so below, and you could just like look at the stars in the sky, right? And that's
absolutely all of existence. It's managing all of existence because it created all of existence. And when holy books, regardless of what religion, says we are made in the image of that which created us, that's an absolute, yeah, it's absolutely true. Because look at what we do. We're in a constant state of creation of reality, and we never stop. We never stop. Like right now, you're moving your eyes, you're moving your eyelids. Every time you do that, that's a creation of reality. If I do over here, if I move to my right, that's a creation of reality. If I move over to my left, that's a creation of reality. If I raise my hand, that's a creation of reality. You are in a constant state of creation of reality at every moment. Every moment. And you never stop. You don't stop creating reality even in your sleep.
Oh, that's a lot to absorb.
Feels exhausting. I just want to take a nap. I want to get off this wheel of creation for a little bit and take a break.
Don't say that, Yvonne, because you could create that. Get rid of that. You don't know how that will manifest itself.
All right. Well, just a nap is fine.
But it doesn't matter if Yvonne creates that. It's just going to go into the transitional portal. Nothing to fear. Right, Yvonne.
Oh my, this is pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's constant. It's constant. Yeah. And we are all one. See, that's why it's difficult. I said this, even myself. I said, there's no one on this physical plane with Earth, and I'm using physical plane lightly, okay, understands oneness. I don't care who they are. It's challenging to understand oneness. And I'm using the word challenging because I'm saying that's how Greta looks at it.
Yeah, I agree with Greta too. And part of that is that from such an early age, you know, like I think about it, okay, we're one, we're united with our mother in our mother's womb, we're feeling so connected, and then we're born and we're immediately separated. And then the separation idea gets taught over and over again through school, through religion. Oh, there's hell, there's heaven, there's right, there's wrong, all these judgments, and then the divisions between races and everything, you know, politics, there's this party and that party. And so, you know, like we have to, as a species, really, you know, like unwind that and really believe something different. And it's a challenge. And I look at my pets, you know, like you think the neighbor has their house and their property line and this is mine and that's theirs, instead of it being just all one land. The pets, the animals know better because they don't care. They'll go anywhere they want. So they're in a way more, they have more of an idea of oneness than humanoids in some ways. So I don't know, ladies, we are, I don't know if there's any last words in this second segment because we're getting the word from our producer to move on. But yeah, do you have anything to wrap it up before we hear from the realm of beings?
I think that the lessons, we move from transitional portal to transitional portal so that we can complete the lessons we didn't complete in the other one. But the other thing too, if we want to add, some people will get this, some people will not, and that's okay, one way or the other, it doesn't matter. But to realize that the transitional portals are not separate either. Everything that's going on is going on all at the same time. That's why we said in one of the podcasts, one of the quotes said, we're living and dying at the same time. We just don't know it.
So no time, no space, just
Right.
yeah,
Just reality.
creation.
Just reality.
Just
Just reality.
creation.
Yeah, just reality. You don't even have to worry about that. It's reality. You didn't complete something here, then you have the opportunity when you go into your transitional portal to attempt it again. But you might not remember
Mhm.
as we go the blinders again. So each time. So we have to learn oneness. Because when you start to learn that oneness, you've learned it when you know that you're the force. See, it's more than just understanding that you're the force. You're understanding the oneness at that point. You see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All righty, ladies. Thank you for all this sharing of wisdom and questioning death and the trying to get closer to the understanding about the force and creation of reality. And just when we come back, we're going to have our realm of beings with us to weigh in on this concept of death and the illusion of death. So stay with us. We'll be right back from our break. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. Thanks for sticking with us. We've reached the part of the podcast where we get to ask directly to the Realm of Beings, and they weigh in on what we've been talking about earlier. So Realm, are you with us?
Yes, we're here.
Hello. So we've been discussing the quotation, death is the process of continuous transitioning closer and closer to the force until we recognize that we are the force itself and have always been the force. What do you have to tell our listeners today?
Death. First thing, and you've been saying it for the 3 times you all have been talking about it, that death is not real. Death is one of the biggest illusions you've got going in this reality. Now, that concept in another reality can mean something different, or the understanding of it can be different. But in this reality that you're in, you feel you've created it to be real. And some people revere it as well as death. Look how many movies and poetry and stories that have given death more credence. So giving more credence to something that does not even exist is interesting, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. But the one thing about it is that it's a movement from one reality to another reality. That's all. And you're doing that all the time. You just don't realize it, or if you do realize it, you might understand the concept of death a little bit better. Like when you go to sleep. In your sleep, you're moving into another reality. Some of you remember that reality, some of you don't. Some of you wake up and said, I know I was dreaming, but I don't remember a doggone thing about it. But you were in a different reality. So death is no different. You're just moving into a different reality. That's all. But it's important to understand that when you get into that next reality, you create it. It's not just provided for you. Those of you who believe in the angels with the wings, That's a fantasy unto itself, at least for this reality that you're in. You can meet other individuals there. You can see all kinds of individuals there for you, but you are creating your own reality there as well. You set up how you want to continue to learn the lessons that you have not completed. So it's a how. Each transitional portal reflects another how. How am I going to learn this lesson? You know, I didn't learn it in the last transitional portal I was in, but how can I learn it here? So you create everything and everyone that you need to assist you in completing your learning. And if you don't complete it then you go to another transitional portal. You go through the same process. Some people it's going to take longer than others. Those people who still believe in the concept of the devil and hell and separation to the hilt, you know, it's going to take you maybe a little longer to get through the transitional portals. How open you are to understanding, how open you are to want to understand. See, there's some people that don't want to understand anything that's being said in this podcast today. They don't want to listen to it. They're not interested in it. They're ingrained in a certain thought system that they feel very comfortable in and don't want to stretch. And that's okay. Everybody is stretching at their own desire.
So now,
Mhm. Go ahead.
Yvonne, do you want to ask a question?
No, go ahead, Leigh, go.
So I asked Greta earlier, and I'm going to ask you directly. Do Yvonne, Greta, and I have a little bit of a leg up on this transitional portal business because we're even talking about entertaining these in our conscious minds, and people listening even, you know, because we're entertaining these concepts because we're creating to know about them, apparently.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we've evolved a little bit more. We're more evolved.
In this transitional portal.
Doesn't make us any better or any worse. Just
No, it just
No.
makes you.
experiential evolution is like changed or moved, yeah, to a
Deeper, going deeper, I guess.
deeper. Right, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but yeah, deeper.
You're going deeper into self. That's right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Getting closer to the oneness, the one point.
You know, you can have even children that are, as far as their experiential evolution is concerned, that they appear to be so evolved, but they're in the body of a child. But that's
Those
because
old souls.
there's really no old soul.
That's the way we humans describe it, though. when we
Yes, I
have a-
know.
have a child that seems smarter or more aware, more conscious than we are. It's like, oh, they're an old soul.
They're an old soul. There's nothing to do with old. Old is
No,
another
just
illusion. Yeah, I know.
another illusion, another way we can wrap our mind, our head space around these things that are so unfamiliar.
Yep. We use all kinds of techniques. We read all kinds of books that assist us, that assist you in your understanding. Even the types of books you read. Some people are just reading self-help books, and that's fine. Whatever reality you choose, you're successful at it. Everybody is successful. Greta was talking to a person this morning when she was facilitating, and she said, everyone is successful. There is no failure. So what you're doing is, as you move from transitional portal to transitional portal, you're experiencing more success. When you see that person homeless, your perception is, oh my God, how can that person be homeless? So from your perception, because you live in a house or apartment, you can eat, what do you call that, squares? 3 squares a day.
Just 3 square meals.
Yeah, I've heard that, 3 squares a day. You think you're doing great. And that person that's sitting down there on the ground in a tent is not doing as good as you are. But what you don't understand is that person that's sitting on the ground in a tent is successful, because that is the how that they have chosen. So they are successful. There is no failure. It's an illusion that you have failed. So as you move from transitional portal to transitional portal, you're learning, I am successful. I am successful. I love myself unconditionally, you see. Yes. Everybody's successful because they created what they wanted in order to learn a lesson. That's why it's unnecessary for somebody to criticize another person.
Goes hand in hand with one of our previous podcasts where we said that nobody's broken.
Absolutely. Everybody's successful.
Mhm.
If you get to 3rd grade and you decide that you don't want to go to 4th grade, then what do they say? They say that you failed 3rd grade. You had to repeat 3rd grade. But that's not failure, that's success. Because that person chose not to go to the 4th grade. You see, that person, that child creates his or her own reality and decided and chose not to go to the 4th grade. There's a lesson in that. Therefore, they are successful. They successfully created not to go to the 4th grade. Therefore, they are successful. That's the how. In the how, there is no failure. There is only success because you've accomplished it. And you continue that success inside each transitional portal you go into until you decide that you don't want to do any more transitional portals. You're ready to understand that you are the force and one with everything, and that there is no separation. So yes, those individuals who are entertaining, you don't have to fully understand it, but you're entertaining it. That means you're closer to understanding that. You're creating. You created to see this podcast. You created to hear the podcast. That says something about you as an individual. Yes.
Thank you
What?
for.
You're welcome, Leigh. How have you been doing?
Well, thank you. Always an enlightening conversation we have with you. And we have created to come to the end of yet another episode of Shifting Impressions.
Oh, we're already at the end, you say? Oh, okay.
We
All
are.
right. All right. I'll see everybody and talk to everybody next week, then maybe, we are one. So sometimes I say I, but because I'm in a state of oneness. But as you hear me, I'm many.
Thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome. Anytime, Leigh. Anytime.
Thank you. Listeners, thank you for joining us on another episode of Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, until we create each other again.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, the Realm, and me, Gretta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multidimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.